How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at my complete Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise DVD collection. Now, I've already talked about each of these movies in a full review before, so if you want to see my longer, more extended thoughts on any of them, I do have those reviews. But all that being said, I wanted to do this video so I could do my thoughts on the complete franchise really quick and in one video here. Now, also, I want to show you guys the DVDs. I'm a big physical media head, and I really like to, take a look at the DVDs and, show them to you. So those are the two reasons I'm making this. But if you do want to see my complete thoughts, I do have reviews for every single one of these. Now, even though there are 6 movies in this franchise, because of multi-packs, there's only 3 different things to take a look at, so in that regard, it may go a little quicker. But without further ado, let's just jump right in. The first one we have here is a double pack, the Christmas Survival Double Feature, which has Part 1 and Part 2 in it on a 2-disc set. That's really good. I always do like when there's a double pack to get 2 different movies on it. That's really fun. But anyway, let's take a look at the first one here. The first one, the original Unrated Cut. Whenever you see these for 80s slasher movies, you definitely want to get them because the ratings board cut out a lot of really cool stuff from slasher movies. So always go for the extended cuts for 80s slashers. You get the tagline, "You've made it through Halloween, now try and survive Christmas." And you get this famous image of a chimney with Santa's arm coming out and an axe. This image is super famous. A lot of people use it when they need a scary Christmas image without knowing anything about the movie it came from and they don't know the context. So a really cool poster right there. This movie is not just a fun Christmas horror movie, but actually a really, really good slasher movie. Whenever people talk about some of the wacky moments from the sequel, I do always feel the need to reiterate that Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 1 was actually a really, really good slasher movie. You get this kid, Billy, who, after his parents have an argument, they're killed by a robber that's dressed up like Santa Claus, and he knows that Santa Claus punishes the bad people, and that's what he thinks happened. He thinks his parents were killed by Santa Claus because they were being bad. Now, he's an orphan. He goes to an orphanage run by Mother Superior, who reinforces this in her head, in his head, telling Billy that punishment is necessary and punishment is good. Now, he gets a job at a toy store where they force him to dress up as Santa for Halloween, and this causes him to snap, and he goes around and starts punishing bad people by killing them. There's your slasher. Now, this, in addition to having really cool kills and an appearance from Linnea Quigley, it also has a good message, You want punishment to preserve peace, but when punishment is inherently violent, you're creating the violence you seek to destroy, If you punish blindly, you'll create more violence, So it is, in addition to being a fun slasher, a very important message and a really, really good film, very underrated. If you like slashers at all, check out Part 1. And then we have Part 2 down here at the bottom with the ornament with the gun reflected in it. Now, Part 2 actually began life as a clip show re-release for Part 1. It was just going to be a re-edit with the killer from the first movie was Billy. His younger brother Ricky is the star of this movie, and it was just going to be him telling the events of Part 1 so they could re-release the film. The director got ambitious and wanted to do a true sequel, and in turn, he didn't really have the money to do the whole thing. So the first 40 or so minutes of this movie is the clip show idea. It's Ricky telling Billy's story, and it's a clip show, so it's kind of unnecessary. There's hardly any new stuff going on. Every now and then Ricky will narrate, or they'll intercut him talking to the psychiatrist with the old movie. But for the most part, it's not super necessary, and a lot of people, especially if you just watch Part 1, just fast forward until Ricky's done recapping. Then after that, you still get flashbacks, but you find out why Ricky is in the asylum. And basically, he had all this stuff rattling around in his head too, and he starts, killing people that he sees are bad, but eventually he goes on a big over-the-top killing rampage, and eventually it will become Christmas, and you do get him dressing up like Santa Claus. But that being said, Christmas doesn't come back into Ricky's story till like the very end, so it's not a super Christmas-heavy film. But that being said, the Ricky stuff is a so bad it's good movie. The actor Eric Freeman delivers all his lines very, very intensely and very, very over the top. And yeah, it is really fun. We all know this movie for the Garbage Day clip. Ricky shoots someone taking out the garbage and goes, "Garbage Day!" But really, all of Ricky's scenes are like that. All of them are big and crazy and over the top. There's the back of the movie. You can see screenshots. I think these are both from part 1. And there's the special features. And we open it up, and both movies are on flipper discs. So, Unrated 1 and part 2. Anyway, moving right along, we have the direct-to-video sequels. So after part 2 didn't do too well, they would eventually do more sequels, but these would all be direct-to-video, and these all came out within a year of one another, so 89, 90, 91, and these movies are different, to say the least. Let's go ahead and take a look at the inside disc. This is part 3, subtitled Better Watch Out. After Ricky was injured at the end of the last movie, he has a big glass dome over his head, and you can see his brain now. But because he's been relatively brain dead, the doctors want to find a way to connect with him, and they get this girl with psychic powers to try to connect with him. But when he does eventually wake up and break out, he starts going after the girl. Now, this should have been big and crazy and over the top. You had Bill Moseley playing Ricky this time around. But sadly, even though you do have weird dream sequences, Ricky isn't as crazy as he was in part 2. None of the kills are particularly memorable. Most of them are the running at the camera running at the actors, and every now and then there's like a stabbing or something. But this movie is shockingly forgettable, which is really weird because, it had such promise. But that being said, nothing much really happens in this movie. This is easily the weakest of the bunch, but I mean, hey, it's got some interesting stuff. But whatever. And also, again, one of those movies where Christmas just doesn't happen to come up too often. That's weird. Ricky doesn't put on a Killer Santa Claus suit. And even though you do have Killer Santa Claus on the front cover of this DVD, only part 5 features a Killer Santa Claus. Moving right along, flipping open the disc to part 4 there. Part 4, Initiation. This movie, they made the clever decision of bringing in Brian Yuzna. Brian Yuzna, you may know him for the Reanimator sequels, Society, Return of the Living Dead Part 3, and yeah, you can definitely tell that looking at this movie. This movie is, for the most part, unrelated to the past 3. Here we become an anthology film, and it's about a cult of witches trying to lure this girl in and initiate her. And it goes big and over the top and crazy. Both these two movies actually feature special effects from Screaming Mad George, and there is definitely some crazy over the top stuff in this movie. Very violent, very hard R, and you actually get Clint Howard this time playing a character named Ricky. Unclear if it's the same Ricky from before in the past movies, but good Clint Howard being a weirdo, very reminiscent of him as the Ice Cream Man, but really do love that. It goes into the anthology sequels and goes really crazy, but I still really like it. But again, hardly anything to do with Christmas in here. Some people think that this was initially just Initiation, and they shot a few Christmas scenes to tie it in, but that's just a theory, and I don't know if it's true or not. But anyway, after that, we have Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toy Maker. Brian Yuzna sticks around as a producer and a writer for this one, and we do have a few characters pop up from Part 4, even though it is, for the most part, its own thing. But that being said, this time around, it's very full moon. You get a killer toy maker who is going to be going after this kid, and it's really fun, crazy, over-the-top toys attacking and killing people. Again, a very, very full moon plot, and it's kind of inspired by Pinocchio. The toy maker's name is Joe Petto, played by Mickey Rooney, but Joe Petto like Geppetto, and his son is Pino like Pinocchio, and they create these crazy toys that are going after people. It's just a good bit of insanity right there. And yeah, definitely, if you like full moon movies, watch Part 5. And there's the back with the Santa running at the camera, even though Killer Santa is only briefly in Part 5, and these two are barely Christmas, but whatever. But he's running at the camera with the information below. And yeah, so those are the direct-to-video movies. And then after that, you got the remake Silent Night with Malcolm McDowell, who was in the Halloween remake, and Jamie King, who wasn't it the My Bloody Valentine remake? So a lot of remake people in this one, and you see they've shortened the title to just Silent Night. There's no Deadly Night. This is a loose remake. It's still a guy in a Santa suit, but other than that, not too many plot carryovers from the first one. And I remember this movie I think it had a pretty bad color grading where they were trying to make it colder and it looked weird. But overall, I do remember this movie having some good over-the-top moments, and there is some pretty fun slasher stuff in here. But other than that, really just cheesy, barely like the first one. And I think the end of it, they threw in a few twists that got kind of weird. But I remember overall liking this because there is some pretty fun kills in here. It's just, it's a cheesy slasher movie from, I think, the early 2000s. So it's not great, but it's kind of fun, So that's the remake. And there's the shiny disc again for that one. So yeah, the remake was fun enough, but yeah, not great. But anyway, so that's the 6 Silent Night, Deadly Night movies. The first one is a classic, easily the best. The second one is so bad it's good. The third is forgettable. The fourth is a crazy Brian Yuzna film that has nothing to do with anything, but is still awesome. And then you have the fifth, which is almost a full moon movie and all but actually being a full moon movie. And then you have the remake, which is good and fun, but kind of forgettable. But hey, it's cool for what it is. So overall, if I had to do series ranking, I would do Part 1, then Part 4, then 5, then Remake, then 2, then 3. But that being said, they all have their little moments, and I do like that they're all very different. But yeah, definitely the first one's the best. And I definitely recommend at least checking that out. If you guys are Yuzna fans and like weird, gross, and over-the-top stuff, check out Part 4. If you like So Bad They're Good movies, check out the last half of Part 2. If you're Full Moon fans, 5, So interesting stuff here. And hey, it all fits in a pretty tight spot on the shelf because of all these multi-packs. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. If you guys want to see more, you can click right there and see more. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.